Nuch nach Jacknan. What do you want, human? That's basically what I said in Klingon, for those of you that aren't fully conversant with the language. I'm not really, I know a few phrases, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, what's all this about? New Star Trek. Yay, it started. Is it good? Is it not? I'm not sure yet. So far, we've just had the first, well, 2 episodes, I suppose, technically. It's really one story sort of split into 2 parts. First part was a bit, second part, a lot better, much better action, that sort of thing. Was it Star Trek? Yeah, it was definitely Star Trek. There were spaceships, there were Starfleet uniforms, there was Starfleet insignia, there were weird aliens with funny looking faces, and there were Klingons. Kind of. I don't know, it's a little bit weird. This, in case you don't know, is set after Enterprise TV show, but 10 years before Kirk. So, sounds a little bit strange. Obviously the special effects are a lot better than they were in the 60s when William Shatner and so on were on the bridge of the Enterprise, and they're not really going to try and make it look a lot like that because it would probably be a bit laughable these days, so I understand that. But when they're setting something before an existing one, I think what they're going to try and do is set it more before the movie, so the technology matches the movie, but then the storylines may then go back to the original timeline rather than the alternate timeline. If you see what I mean, it's kind of a little bit odd to explain. I still don't get the whole why Klingons are even more Mars bar head than they used to be. Yeah, I call them Mars bar heads. You have a look at a Klingon and the ridges there look like the top of a Mars bar. I'm not kidding. You have a look at a Mars bar and you will not think of Klingons or Mars bars without thinking of the other one ever again. It's one of those things, can't help it. That's what you'll be doing, guaranteed. But yeah, Klingons look a little bit odd. They've changed the skin tone really, really dark, almost a metallic colour. They have no hair at all and very prominent ridges. Now, if you remember from the original series with Kirk and so on, they didn't have the budget to do that. So they basically darkened up the skin, gave them goatees and funny haircuts. That's really what Klingons were. It wasn't until the motion picture that they actually did a little bit more, and I believe James Doohan, who played the original Scotty, helped develop some of the words they use as a language at the time to make them seem a lot more kind of threatening and a lot more alien. And obviously, as the series went through, they developed more of a language and that sort of thing. It's, you know, you can get all the tapes, which I've got somewhere. I've got the dictionary somewhere. I've even got Klingon in the original Hamlet somewhere, but I've probably lost it because I've moved so many times the last couple of years. I can't find half the stuff I had. Like, I did have a Starfleet uniform. Can't find it. Don't know where it is. Don't know. I haven't got another one, so I'm just wearing a normal t-shirt today. Otherwise, I would have worn that, and that would have been cool, but nah. It's a Next Generation one, but that's a long story. So, anyway, they're using the Klingon language a lot. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of some. It seems a lot weaker than it usually is. You look at Next Generation, some of the later movies, and that sort of thing is a very guttural, quite harsh sounding language, and they've kind of watered it down a little bit. As though it's the same words, I think the pronunciation is a lot less forced, which I'm not sure about. I did like kind of the nook nak and kind of almost like very, very cropped and very sort of determined to the point, which I think would go quite well, but they seem to be a lot softer with how they're saying it, so it doesn't sound quite the same, doesn't have quite the same impact for me. As for the storyline, so basically, if you haven't seen it yet, it's called Star Trek Discovery. First 2 episodes, we've not seen Discovery yet. Where is it? It's a different starship, the Shinzu, with a different captain and possibly a different crew. They may keep some of them, I don't know. So we don't even know what the crew is. We know one person who, I'm not going to spoil it, but by the end of the episode is in a position that's not too good for her. So how is she going to end up on another ship? I don't know. Lucius Malfoy is going to be captain of Discovery, which is kind of cool. I like him. Jason Isaacs is quite a good actor. So yeah, the cast so far seems pretty good. You know, I don't mind them. It's a bit odd that the main character, her name is Michael, which I know the guy who wrote it likes to give female characters male names. I'm not sure she was named after her father or something. That's a bit but you know, get used to it, I suppose. She seems quite a strong character, quite an interesting character. The whole Vulcan upbringing. Sorry, spoiler if you haven't seen it yet. She's been brought up by Sarek, which is another major problem for me. Spock never mentioned it. It's only 10 years, so does something happen to her in this 10-year span before You know, Spock is on the Enterprise with Kirk. We know he was on the Enterprise before Kirk. He was on there with Christopher Pike. We know that from the movie, TV show, so it all depends which way they go. But up until the Romulans time travel, everything should be the same. So I don't know, it'd be interesting to see what they do with that. I said I think they're leaning towards the technology of the first movie rather than the original series, which, you know, is fair enough. It'd be nice if they then continued on and then went into the future past Voyager and kind of like, this is what happened to the past, this is the Federation and Klingon Cold War, great, we know the history a little bit, so have a little bit more going, so we know what's happened in the past, and then possibly lead it forward. The whole premise of Star Trek, if you listen to the whole spiel at the beginning, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. See, I said no one, Next Generation one, not no man like the original had, because we can't be sexist this day and age, can we? Of course not. So why aren't we exploring strange new worlds, seeking out new life, new civilizations? It's what we want to do. It's not to boldly go where we've kind of been before, to seek out stories that we haven't quite covered that nobody really worries that much about, but we'll do it anyway. It doesn't have the same ring to it for me. So I would have preferred it if they'd gone past Voyager, gone more into the Delta Quadrant, Gamma Quadrant, or gone somewhere a little bit different, actually explored, because we know this series, like Enterprise, was set around Earth. It seems to be a problem with a lot of sci-fi these days. Doctor Who is suffering from exactly the same problem at the moment. It used to be exploring new worlds and new civilizations, new races, new problems, and all that sort of thing, exploring the galaxy. We haven't done that for quite some time. If you look at Doctor Who, when was the last time he really went to an alien planet? He's gone to Mars, the Moon, Earth in a different time zone, Earth in another time zone, Earth in another time zone. Oh yeah, gone kind of to Gallifrey and Skaro, but places we've kind of been before. Where's the new civilizations? Where's the weird aliens and the funny costumes? We're not getting that. Star Trek seems to be doing the same thing. It was one of the biggest problems I had with Enterprise. Now, I should have liked Enterprise. Scott Bakula is one of my favourite actors. Obviously, I grew up watching Quantum Leap. Love Quantum Leap. Think he's an absolutely fantastic actor. But I just could not get into Enterprise. One, it was obviously set before Kirk, and the technology didn't match up. They had Klingons with Mars bars on their heads, and they shouldn't have had yet. I know they went to the whole virus thing because they're supposed to have ridges, but something happened, blah blah blah, they had smooth heads, and then they got rigid again, so I'm not quite sure what that does. So in this 10-year gap between when the Cold War starts and Kirk stops flying around the universe, they all lose their ridges, and then after that they gain them again. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with that, because they did mention it in Enterprise, but I frankly can't remember. It was a long time ago. As I was saying, Enterprise seemed to stick too much with Earth, because obviously they haven't got the 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, because the Enterprise was the first one to do that, so they don't go very far in Enterprise. A little bit of an issue when they're supposed to be exploring strange new worlds. They're obviously not doing that, and I think it took itself way too seriously. One of the good things about Star Trek I always found, look at the original series, look at Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation especially, it's not always doom and gloom. It's not always these people are trying to kill Earth, they're trying to destroy the Federation, oh we're doomed, we're doomed. They go onto the holodeck and something goes wrong and they start fighting fictional characters. Q turns up and does something ridiculous, and they're set back in time, the olden days, medieval, and the Robin Hood and his merry men, and all sorts of ridiculous things, kind of light-hearted. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. It was kind of like, oh, they have, you know, ridiculous problems as well, and they have a bit of fun, you know, the odd silly episode, and Data is Sherlock Holmes and they bring Moriarty to life, and all that sort of thing. That it wasn't like it was one big story arc. It was little things happening, and this is what I think is one of the issues. They try and have too many large story arcs, so you have to watch week after week after week after week for one big story. What happened to having just little stories every week? You can have little elements that link up eventually. Babylon 5 did that. You could watch an episode and watch a different episode. You didn't have to watch them necessarily every week. You could kind of dip in and out. There'd be little things you may not know, but generally it didn't really matter for your enjoyment of the show. Next Generation was like that. You could watch an episode from Series 1, watch an episode from Series 6, and it didn't really matter. There'd be a couple of different crew members, different uniform. Worf would have longer hair, Troy would be in a uniform or not in a uniform. That would be quite a nice idea, but let's not go there. And you know, there'd be the little changes, but story wise they were on the Enterprise, they were exploring somewhere bizarre, something would happen to somebody, a red shirt might die, some major happens to some civilization, and they all do it something good in the end, and they win, or Riker sleeps with somebody, or whatever. You knew what to expect from each episode, and it was quite fun like that, because you'd have different stories every week. You didn't have to religiously watch it every single week to know what's happening. Enterprise strayed from that. Voyager had sort of like an ongoing storyline, but once again you could sort of dip in and out. Deep Space Nine, you could dip in and out. There was an ongoing storyline, a big story arc with the Dominion and that sort of thing, that you kind of needed to have an understanding of to enjoy it as a whole series. But you could just watch the odd episode and just sit and enjoy it. I didn't find that with Enterprise. I didn't watch it religiously, and I'd watch an episode. I may not watch it for a week because I work nights, as you probably know if you watch the channel, and I'd watch it and I wouldn't know what was quite going on, the Folians and all the other problems they had, and it was kind of like there was too much of this happened this week and then next week and next week and next week. And that is going to be my big concern with Star Trek Discovery. They're trying to make a whole series arc of one story. Do an overriding story, please do, so things interlink for us geeks that like to know. Oh my god, you mentioned that 2 weeks ago, like Babylon 5 did. There were things happening in series 1 that in the last series would actually be dependent on. It'd be like, oh my god, I remember that happening, that's why it happened. And that made a lot of sense. Sheridan, Sinclair and all that stuff. It was really, really good, how the story evolved as it went. But as I said, you could watch little bits and pieces and there'd be fun little stories every week. And I think this is my biggest concern with Discovery, is they're not going to do that. They're going to try and do a whole story arc. And I don't think Star Trek is made to be enjoyed that way. You don't want to watch a movie that's split up into a series. You want to watch a series with separate episodes. Look at Grimm. It had a story arc that was going all the way through until the end, and you didn't realise that until it kind of started to build up with Diana and all the other things that were happening, kind of bits and pieces. But each week you had a different story about a different kind of vessel, and it would just continue. You could just watch this one this week, skip a week, watch another one, and it didn't really matter that much. You'd pick up on the little bits and pieces of the story arc, but it wasn't the important thing. You just enjoyed every week with a different monster. Same with Buffy and all the other TV shows like that. That really works. But when you start doing it so it's more like a soap, yes, I know Star Trek is kind of a soap in that way, but you don't want it so if you miss an episode, you have no idea what's going on. You want the fun little episodes all the time, and the discoveries every week. Star Trek Discovery, although it's called Discovery, I don't think they're going to be discovering a hell of a lot, because they're not going to go very far at the solar system, because they can't, because Kirk is the first one to go out and seek new life. So we may get Romulans. We're not going to get Cardassians yet, because they're not introduced for quite some time until Next Generation. I don't think they did it in the original series anyway. So we'll get Folians possibly. Obviously we're going to get Romulans because we've already got Vulcans as well, and we've got Klingons, and it's not going to be a lot more than that. There'll be no Ferengi, hopefully no Borg. Could we just quit the Borg? We don't meet them for years yet, so could we not do alternate timelines and we've met these people somewhere before? No time travel, please. Yeah, just cut it out now. Yeah, you're not Sarah Connor, you're not Doctor Who, no time travel. Yeah, stop now before you even think about it. Don't do it. Right. So yeah, that is probably my big concern. I'll get used to the Klingons, because yeah, they did need updating, but do something about the costumes, please. The armor is ridiculous. It doesn't look like something a warrior would wear. It looks too tight fitting, too enclosing. It doesn't look like they'd be able to move very well. They're a warrior race. They're supposed to be good at martial arts and fighting. They need flexibility. The armor needs to be broken up a little bit more, offer more flexible movement, their arms, and a little bit quick. They look very clunky and they look very uncomfortable. They've got high collars and they're kind of like I can't see behind me. They'd have free motion with their heads, and they've got these massive collars over here and they can't turn. That's not something a warrior would wear. Oh yeah, it protects the neck, but you can't see behind you, so what's the point of protecting your neck if somebody's just going to kill you anyway? It makes no sense. Just do something about that and I'd be a bit happier. Make them talk a little bit more gruffly and directly, and I think more kind of short, because as I said in the beginning when I went nuke neck, that's the Klingon greeting. That actually is just, what do you want? That says everything. Direct, straight to the point. What do you want? Nice, simple. So yeah, so far, so I keep straying from the point. Looks like it could be a good series. I hope they try and do little episodes with little stories, and sometimes the odd fun silly one's quite good. Learn more about the characters. The thing about Next Generation, the original series, and so on. The reason why it worked was the people. It really wasn't go in and find a new alien. It was the social interaction between the characters. Once you care about the characters, everything else just falls into place. You know, when I was in college and Next Generation was actually on and it was new episodes, I was in like I don't know, in university, and I took along the new episodes as they'd been aired, 'cause they'd be recorded, and I watched them. And there were people that had never seen Star Trek, and they thought, "Oh no, geeky rubbish, not going to watch it." And they watched some episodes and really enjoyed it. They just forgot that it was based in space, because the characters were so good, the storyline was so good. The one about Data's daughter, Lol, that was, you know, a really, really good story with a lot of emotion. There's a lot of different things you can learn about Data and the other members of the crew, and it's that sort of thing that we really look for. And I didn't feel that with Enterprise. I didn't feel the sort of the social interaction between the characters. It never felt like a family. Look at the original series. You know, you got the three main characters, Spock, Kirk, and McCoy. They always had a bit of a laugh with each other, tongue in cheek, and it was how those three interacted. You get the other characters come in, Sulu and Scott and everyone else, but it was the main three that were important. You look at Next Generation, and they widened it more. So you get Picard is obviously the figurehead, and he sort of involved in that a little bit. They tried not to focus it so much on a few characters and tried to encompass as many of the cast as they could, which I think really worked, and it's quite good. You get the different types of people then taking the different roles in, you know, a friendship group, and that I think works really well. Voyager worked quite well, Deep Space Nine worked quite well. Said Enterprise, I didn't think it did. So, you know, fingers crossed they learn from the past and not make the mistakes they made with Enterprise. I can just hope. Yeah, so far looks like it might be quite promising. I have many concerns. I'm sure the rest of you are very concerned for exactly the same reasons, being Star Trek fans like me. So let's see how it pans out. Hopefully it'll lead on to bigger and better things if this does well. I know they have said that they're looking at it kind of leading into the original series, as I said, but I think it's going to be more film than original series, but then it'll lead on, you know, so it'll have the look of the film rather than the look of the original series, but have the story of the original series, if that makes sense, and not go to the alternate timeline, and have the movies as a completely separate entity, which would be good, because then we can continue on with, you know, past Next Generation, Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and just go to the future then, because it's like, right, we've dealt with that, that's how things are, this is why technology looks nicer because we can do it better, blah blah blah, move on. So yeah, fingers crossed, yeah, that they do it right, it'll be really good. So that's the end of that bit, so let's do a little bit of Klingon. Right, so as I said at the beginning, Nuknech, what do you want? Draknan is obviously human, so Nuknech Draknan. So what do you want, human? Easy. Next one, where's the bathroom? Don't ask me why, it's one of the phrases I remember. It's Nuk Dakosh Puchpa eh. Where's the bathroom? Nice and simple. So say it again. Nuk Dakosh Puchpa eh. Okay, where's the bathroom? Hope I'm doing it right. I think I am, from what I remember anyway. So some of the other ones from the movies, namely Search for Spock, Star Trek 3. Yeah, 3, because 2 he died with Khan. Yeah, so Star Trek 3. So there are a few phrases, because actually if you look at the tape set that teaches you conversational Klingon, they've actually got the Klingon they captured at the end of the movie, who's actually been helping them learn the language and set it all up so people can learn Klingon. So it's kind of like a nice little nod to the movie. So there's fire, which is Bach, just fire, simple. Yeah, you hear that command a lot. Shorek Ishu Ha, disengage the cloaking device. Choi Chu, activate the transporter. Yeah, so those are the ones from the movie. Other phrases, what can I remember? Count 1 to 6. Wa cha wish losh va jav. There you go, 1 to 6 in Klingon as well. So there you go, a couple of little bits and pieces. Yeah, you've got the to be or not to be, which wasn't really part of the language until Undiscovered Country. But there's that tak pa tak pe, to be or not to be in Klingon. So there you go, a little bit of Shakespeare for you as well. Well, I hope you enjoyed a bit of that and learned a little bit of Klingon. You may not remember it, but you know, feel free to kind of play it back and see if you can learn it as well. It's not difficult really. Maybe being Welsh gives me an advantage, but I can't speak a word of Welsh anyway, so it doesn't really give you that much advantage, apart from hearing a kind of very phlegmy language all around me all the time anyway. So hey, thanks a lot for visiting. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thanks a lot, really appreciate it. Please make comments, tell me, what did you think of the show? Do you think It could be good. Did you dislike it? Did you love it? Do you have the same concern as me, or do you have some other concerns? It'd be interesting to know what you guys think as well. So, thanks a lot for visiting, and come again soon. Kabla! That means success. Bye-bye.